Welcome to Open the Brain. I've noticed a lot of greed in society, and while it doesn't seem that this greed is malicious or intentional, it is still damaging to the people around us. I remember when I was about 14, I was with my friends, we'll call them Steve and Nick. And Nick hadn't eaten food in about 3 days. He had kicked out of his family's house, some stuff that had been going on, and so we were at a restaurant. It was Steak and Shake, if you guys know it. It's right by the old David Letterman Theater, whatever it's playing there now. But so we were online with Steve, and he was getting himself a burger and milkshake and fries and drink and whatever. And we're asking, hey, can we get like $1 or something for Nick? The other side of the theater and from the restaurant is a dollar pizza place, which is what it says. It's $1 for pizza, which isn't good slices or anything, but it's still filling, especially if you haven't had food in a couple of days. But the thing is that Nick is insisting he doesn't have any change or anything at all, and he's got to keep his money because he's got to buy his food. Food came out to like $28. He pulled out a $50 bill, and he paid. He got his food, and I think I ended up splitting a slice of pizza with Nick. I had like a little bit of money in my pocket, and I think later I went back to another friend's house or something. They had food, but I still felt bad. I didn't have money to give, really. I gave him half of my pizza slice. I was in the same boat as him, pretty much. But I wasn't homeless, and I had food the night before. I just hadn't eaten all day. But Steve was surprisingly selfish, and it wasn't really until now, until I've thought about it, even bringing it up, it wasn't until this moment that I realized how selfish and how scary of an act that was. And I had spent some time in Bali about last year, and it really, really changed my perspective of how the world is supposed to be when it comes to interacting. We would share, and when I say we, I had a group of friends over there that were all local people from the beach, and we would all share drinks and cigarettes and food. I shared a bed, which was pretty much just a mat on the floor, and honestly, after that, my back felt so nice from that. I don't like to sleep in normal beds anymore, except when it's like a nice occurrence. But there was so much that was going on there, that was a culture of sharing. Someone would pay for all the food one day, someone else pays for all the food the next day. You need to get somewhere, you came on foot, well, here's a motorbike so you can get there faster. That's the kind of thing it was. Everyone would come meet up at the same place at the end of the day. So if you borrowed someone else's motorbike, you return it at that time. And then you get home by someone who you know comes and picks you up for a ride, or you're dropped off by the owner of it. It was like a sharing culture. There was just an idea of you're supposed to be a kind individual to people. And it made me think of back in my country, with the same person, there was this strong dislike, or a hatred I'd actually call it, for sharing food. If he touched food, you couldn't eat it. And no, I don't mean that if I touched the food, he wouldn't eat it. I mean that if he touched the food, he wouldn't allow another person to eat it. Same thing with joints. We'd be smoking, and once he got high, he'd throw it and stomp it like a cigarette. Not when we both got high, but when he got high. And I really, really think that is just a small piece of a larger problem. I don't think any of it was malicious, but I'll tell you for a fact that when I would say, hey, why'd you do that? Or it doesn't really make any sense. What are you doing? He would get so upset. I didn't mean for this to be a rant. I started this off as just something to point out the little things of how there's a lot more cigarette sharing in Indonesia than there is in the U.S. How if you ask someone for a cigarette at the bar, you better hope they're a couple drinks down, because they'll probably just say no. But in Indonesia, they're going to come up to you, offer you a cigarette, and then start talking to you, conversation. Even if it's just to say, like, hey, can you pay me money for a taxi ride? I'm gonna drive you somewhere. I'm a taxi driver. Even if it's just something like that, they're still giving you a cigarette. There's a guy in Indonesia who I was gone for like 6 months. I went back. Every single day I saw him. I passed by the same spot. He'd light up a cigarette for me. I'd put it in my mouth. He lights it. I didn't ask him to do that. At first, it was a little weird. I was a little uncomfortable about it. By the end, I was kind of like, this makes sense. I mean, I'm kind of tired at this point of the day. I don't have to light my first cigarette. I'm not smoking 2 or 3 cigarettes now by the first bit of morning. And so it was really nice, yeah. This is Open the Brain. Thank you for listening. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor, SoundCloud, YouTube, as well as Instagram. We'll be making 2 new episodes a week, so stay tuned.